addition to being a DMDL student, I'm a former New York City public school teacher, and I currently work in the field of children's educational technology research. So when I began working on my thesis project in the fall, I actually came in with a pretty clear idea about a concrete problem that as a former teacher, I was well equipped to solve. And I felt like I was good to go. Until the morning of November 9th, when I kind of began to lose my bearings. And I definitely don't mean to imply that the regenesis of my thesis project is in any way as significant as the other outcomes of our recent election. But during the weeks that followed, I began to realize that I wanted to use this time to design a solution that would function as more than a Band-Aid. Something that could conceivably bridge the gap between public school culture as it currently exists and public school culture as perhaps it could or should exist if we hope to create a more equitable and empathetic society. It's just a small little goal that I whipped up for myself back in November. The greatest gift the DMDL program has bestowed upon me is the ability to think like a designer. Through my practice of design thinking, I've developed the creative confidence to experiment and explore the unknown, and the compassion to focus on what truly matters. So I decided to use my thesis to explore how to share design thinking in a manner that would resonate with kids. And I'm not the first to embark upon this journey, but most of the current efforts at design thinking instruction are geared toward middle or high school students, or they're tied to STEM education. But at a time when our communication is increasingly mediated by screens, and when educational funding and focus are being diverted away from the humanities, and when we're witnessing upsurges in discrimination and political initiatives aimed at the disempowerment of minority groups, it gets happier, don't worry. There we go. It seems more important than ever to directly address empathetic thinking and civic engagement during children's most formative experiences as citizens of school communities. It's for that reason that DT4All, my design thinking curriculum, is specifically geared toward the developmental needs of elementary learners and aims to foster empathy and civic engagement through its alignment with social studies education. In grades K through 4, series of design thinking challenges function to enrich and extend the content of target social studies units. In K to 2, students' design explorations are firmly anchored in the rules and geography governing their own classroom and school communities, while students in grades 3 through 4 go on to explore less familiar terrain, including foreign cultures and colonial America. Then, in grade 5, students participate in a semester-long legacy project, during which they receive explicit instruction in design thinking with the goal of developing sustainable solutions to meaningful school-based problems prior to their graduation. The design of this curriculum was informed by research that I conducted with diverse groups of K to 5 students. And during that time, the teacher part of my brain kept urging me to jump in with additional scaffolds whenever students began to stray from my intended lesson plan. But the emerging design researcher part of my brain told her to shut up and to use these student-initiated modifications as a guide toward a more developmentally appropriate pedagogical model. So one example of that is the work I did with kindergarten students who were eager to explore their own school-based problems, but felt less confident representing or discussing those of a partner. So if I'm being honest, it quickly became pretty apparent that all these kids really wanted to do was get their hands on the piles of prototyping materials that I brought. So while the design thinking cycle typically begins with an empathize phase, in this DT4All kindergarten lesson, I actually rearranged the process so that students instead begin by building a prototype, and it's a prototype that's based on their own needs and preferences, and then they go on to empathize with others so that they can iterate upon that initial design to incorporate a wider variety of needs. In the DT4All design thinking curriculum, empathy-focused lessons, such as this one, work in tandem with others that more strongly emphasize civic engagement, with the ultimate goal of guiding students toward recognizing themselves as social change agents. So when those kindergartners eventually become 5th graders, they'll participate in the culminating experience of the Legacy Project, which supports students not in researching and testing out hypothetical solutions to school-based issues, but in actually implementing their ideas through multiple rounds of iteration and a direct address to the stakeholders and contextual constraints governing the viability of their designs. My hope is that by prompting our youngest citizens to embody these dispositions and civic responsibilities, more typically associated with adulthood, the kids will grow up with the confidence and commitment to build a better world, both for themselves as well as for others. To learn more, come track me down at the table with the wine on it, or possibly at booth number 6. Thanks.